Hey guys, welcome to the Riff Table Arcade! This is episode 3, I believe.
Yes.
And I am your host for this one, FighterXaos. Yeah, I finally made it on one of these.
Holy crap, you actually made it!
I know,
He's
right?
alive?
It took some time because I was doing some things, but...
Yeah,
things.
making your comic.
Exactly.
I take it.
Exactly what I was doing.
Yep.
I got some good news to tell you about that comic. About 2 comics, after we record.
Oh, nice.
But, what are we here to talk about, Kyle? What is this topic? Some juicy
First of all,
stuff?
let's introduce ourselves first before we go any further.
That's right. I just said I'm FighterXaos, and let's see who you guys are.
So yeah, I'm Kyle, also known as Double RPG, and next to me...
What's up, guys? I'm Jeff, also known as 16-Bit Jeff.
Actually, we're not next to each other. We're actually about halfway across the country from each other.
Technically, in this call, we technically are, so you're not fully off.
Well, in my Skype call, you guys, your avatars are next to each other.
Yeah, so...
Oh, snaps. Dang. But yeah, we're back, and we're here to deliver another great show for y'all. But anyway, what's the topic we're talking about today, you ask?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one is actually going to be quite an interesting one. Probably the most interesting / debatable / controversial topic that has been brought up ever since back on Monday, I would take it. And this actually came from a video on YouTube from a freelance journalist, I guess you could say, by the name of ReviewTechUSA, who goes by the name of Rich. And he brought up this video, and he explains this about this subject from a from a source that he considers as credible, but cannot give off who the name of it is because the sites like to remain anonymous, right? And this news story he brought up is the one that he trusts, and he feels that the launches of both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are bound for disaster. And why is it that they're bound for disaster? Well, for the PS4, that's one I think we can save. But for the Xbox One, their online infrastructure, Xbox Live Arcade, is in complete shambles. It's in complete shambles because of, and thus, I guess we could also say why Sony with the PS4 is also on the brink of disaster, for a console launch as well, since it kind of does tie into it. But anyway, yeah, so Xbox One's online infrastructure is in shambles because of what the PS4 or what Sony did when they showcased the PS4 back at E3. But there was something that Sony had with the PS4 that is giving itself, or giving the console, a day one patch to start off with, but it will also leave its online infrastructure in shambles. What was that one thing that they were actually going to bring for their system that Xbox One originally had? Are you waiting to hear this? Are you done crapping your pants? You haven't figured it out yet? No? Oh, okay. For those of you who figured it out, I applaud you, but for those, yeah, it's actually pretty shocking. It's DRM.
Shocking.
Yeah. So, the reason why the PS4 and Xbox One, their online infrastructures are currently in shambles right now was because both consoles were planning to have DRM for their next-gen system, meaning, digital rights management to where both systems would, you couldn't even sell them, and you couldn't even, I guess, play used copies of games onto the system in the works, obviously. So, yeah, this whole rumor with what Rich of ReviewTechUSA posted is actually pretty juicy, and if this does turn out to be true, then people who are wanting to get a PS4 and Xbox One, or the Sony and Microsoft fanboys who are getting one at launch, or one anytime soon, are probably going to be in for a rude awakening when they both release in November. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that's the video that he brought up. So, or the subject of what he brought up in the video. So what do you guys feel about this? I mean, do you feel that what he talked about in the video may actually have some truth to it, or do you think it could be just a rumor?
Well, like he said in his original take, I'm the same way, that I'm hoping all these turn out to be not true, but what from I've heard and seen, I think some of them are true, not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not calling out Rich and calling him a liar, because it does have some vitality, because due to the fact.
Because like you said, you're not calling him a liar because like I don't think he would even make that video unless he actually felt at least some of it was true.
Right, and then some of it is true, because the recent thing we found out, we were talking about earlier before we started recording, the whole PS3 to PS4 upgrade. In order for that upgrade to work, you'll still need to carry and hold the PS3 disc for that update to even work to begin with. In other words, you can no longer, trade that used game in for credits.
Are you talking about the copy of Madden 25 or whatever?
Well, this will work with Call of Duty and Battlefield, where if you buy
and Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, okay.
If you buy PS4, the PS4.
Well, I mean, if you have the PS3
PS3
version and you get the PS4 version, you have to have the PS3 version in order to play the PS4 version. Essentially, it's kind of like when people. I guess it was back then when Portal 2 came out, when people who were planning on buying the PS3 version of Portal 2 just so they can get hands PC version only. But what that is that they did not realize was that in order to play the PC version, they have to have the PS3 version already registered or whatever. So it's kind of in a similar fashion when you think about it in that context.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and not to mention, I think some of the other things as well that he mentioned is that with some of the games for the system, is that and even going back to Call of Duty Ghosts, is that both games, both versions of the PS4 and Xbox One version of Call of Duty Ghosts will not be able to run at native 1080p because they will only be as high as 720p because their online infrastructure is in shambles. And that's something that, a lot of people have high expectations to, play those type of games in that resolution. But the thing they got to realize is that it costs a lot of money to develop a game at native 1080p resolution.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I was going to say, you mentioned, like, do you believe... I believe that, even go so far as to say, I'll leave you, they actually did have DRM as well. And I'll go, okay, I'll give you that one too. I don't...
Mm-hmm.
At Xbox as well, for both, I don't think it's going to be exactly disastrous and shambles. I think you're going to see some glitches. But
yes.
I remember seeing the Sony UI already for a while now, and there's people who, like, the people who are testers were testing the online infrastructure.
And they've been posting.
Granted, smaller scale.
And they've been posting their thoughts on Twitter as well.
Granted, it's smaller scale than a worldwide than what you're going to see on launch. But if they haven't said anything about it disastrous just because it had DRM at one point, then I don't think you're going to see like a meltdown.
Right.
Yeah.
Problems, yes, but meltdown, I don't know.
I'm hoping
have a hard
not.
time believing that one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that's a really big thing in this day and age too. Is that online gaming has become a really big part in this day and age. But there are even some people who do not even care about online gaming, like myself, for instance.
Like us.
Or like us, because I really don't care about playing like fighting games or any of those matches in online because they're really not. They're just more piecemeal type of modes or whatever. They don't really benefit to the true experience of what the games go for.
You mentioned the money thing about 1080p. That's so true. Like, that's another thing. And that makes me think as well. What if the 1080p 720p thing is just it's 1080p single player but 720p multiplayer? I never. I just had a thought about that.
It is possible. I mean, no one has brought that up.
Yeah, it is very possible about that. And I know some games, they actually are, that their native resolution is 720p, but they can be upscaled to 1080p to give you that visual presentation, like Sonic Lost World, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's also one of those things, too, where it's just, even though 1080p and 720p resolution for gaming is quite a big deal to some people, but I think it's more based along the fact that, maybe it's come to that point to where, like, it doesn't really matter. Whatever resolution they go for is one that I'll be fine with either way, but, don't waste your money on a resolution, knowing that it could actually prove to have a negative impact in terms of the sales, in case people don't really care about, consider or about certain properties or whatever.
Right.
Heck, the PS3 that I play on, the TV that's hooked up is only 720p.
Of course, and there's still plenty of PS3 games and even Xbox 360 games that still don't run at native 1080p.
The highest game I played on PS3 was 1080i, not even full 1080p.
Yeah, and I come to feel that, and I come under the impression that even like big games like maybe Metal Gear Solid 4 doesn't run at native 1080p, but only runs at native 720p.
Yeah,
Uncharted, those Uncharted
even
games,
Uncharted,
they only run 1080i.
Yeah, and
At
even
most,
The Last of Us, it runs on native 720p. It's not at 1080.
And I see nobody complaining about those games looking bad.
I know. And here's the funny thing that you guys are bringing up. I don't get why it's that big of a. I understand why it's a big deal due to the fact that when you really think about it in general, high definition technology is an old technology, and we should have had at least native 1080p since at least the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era, not this generation. However, at the same time, these are just launch titles. Eventually, we'll have both native 1080p and both multiplayer and single player later down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's even more baffling about the video that Rich put up is that it not only raised a lot of awareness from people, and he actually managed to get a lot of subscribers because of it, but he's also been under a lot of flack, and especially when it comes to a website called DualShockers. They called his video out because they felt it was complete bogus.
Yeah.
And not to mention, when you take a look at most of the PS or the PlayStation fan base, it seems like they come to the point where they feel that they're like perfect. Anything that bad comes amongst their end, they feel that they have to defend it up the wazoo. I mean, same with Microsoft, really. But
it's actually the same with any fan base when you're talking about whether it's Sony, Microsoft, or even Nintendo.
Yeah,
it's every company.
It's just the thing is when it comes to
PC Master Race.
Yeah, when it comes to Nintendo, it gets most of the flack with.
Oh, true, yeah.
But when it comes to PS4 and Xbox One, it just seems like the fan bases are a bunch of atheists because they don't think rationally like we do. So yeah, and not to mention that Rich even put up a video response or a follow-up video talking about trying to retrace his steps about why he put up his video, put that previous video up in the first place, the one that we're talking about, is because he just said, like he says, it's a source that has to remain anonymous. But in his other videos, most of his other videos, he does give, cite sources that are actually credible, that may actually prove to be true in the long run. So, it's not the first time where sources who, people give their sources to where they have to remain anonymous. It's happened a lot of times, but, a lot of people raising up concern and raising up a bunch of disgust towards what he talked about, it's quite uncalled for.
And I'm not trying to sound egotistical, it's due to the fact that these are consoles, and it's disgusting we go a little bit bratty when something is said negative about these consoles that are not even out to begin with. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about Rich. I'm talking about these fanboys who say, "Oh, they're hurting us." It's just a piece of plastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I never understand that for any company. You buying their product doesn't make you a part of their company all of a sudden. Like.
No, you say that Sony and Microsoft give a damn about you, but here's the real truth. They don't actually. They just only care about the almighty dollar, just to keep themselves alive. It's all right for you to be in favor of them, but don't be like full fanboy and thinking that you have their full on support, because they really don't care about what you do. They're only trying to survive.
Businesses are businesses. They care about money more, but they also care about reputation. They also care if they really have a good reputation, not a negative one. Look how Sony was back in 2007. That's not the same Sony we see these days. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, what we heard in the past, like, oh, we never had DRMs to begin with, way from E3. I thought it was hilarious. I know all of us were joking about it during the stream, but at the same time, for some reason, in the back of my mind, even then too, it's just like, this is BS.
Yeah,
something's off.
Yeah, something did seem off, and not to mention too, why they didn't want to have DRM in their console after. In their console, and when they showed it off at E3, was because they were waiting for what Microsoft was going to bring to the table with what they showcased with the Xbox One event, the reveal event. Because, they had to take into account whether or not if the company would receive a lot of backlash because of it. And they did obviously receive a lot of backlash, and that's why Sony kind of stepped back and decided to make their console not have DRM after that.
Which,
so
can you say is a douchebag move or just a smart move? I mean...
It's kind of I guess it's a
smart.
Yeah, a little bit of both, I would say at best.
Yeah, I could say that. I could see it being half and half either way.
Yeah. Like, it was a smart move, but I just wish they just were upfront and said, yeah, originally we were going to have DRM, not hide it in the back. That's the thing that offends me more. Not only as a consumer,
it's like,
but a fan of the product.
We see that was stupid, and we're sorry. Like, I would have been like, alright, you saw that was dumb. No shame in admitting you knew it was wrong. Like, but pretending to be in the right all along when you weren't. Like,
But for example, just to bring up, I know Nintendo gets a lot of flack, but at the same time, the reason why I respect Iwata as a CEO from both Japan and America now is the fact that he's more upfront than the other two.
Exactly. He even admitted. I think back in 2009, in one of the investors' meetings, that their E3 press conference that they had was not that very good, and he even admitted that, full front. He admitted that the company makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. So that's the mindset that companies like maybe Sony and especially Microsoft don't even have, because they just only care about defending themselves, which they obviously do that whenever they give out official press releases or whatever, where their responses are complete BS.
Yeah.
And they don't even answer the question, and they just, try to fumble around words, and they have no, what is that word I'm looking for? They have no relation to the topic that people ask questions about. Like, for instance, if you want a good example of how Microsoft treated themselves really poorly, take a look at when Game Informer did I think it was back in 2009, Game Informer did a reader's poll asking people how many of them have actually experienced the Red Ring of Death. And there was out of all the readers that they got, about 54.6% actually experienced the Red Ring of Death after they bought their Xbox 360 or within their lifetime. So that means that over half of the consoles in consensus have actually failed for the 360. And then Microsoft released a response, but it was complete BS that didn't even answer the question at all about how to improve their business strategy or whatever.
And in regards to Microsoft, I'm really hoping that changed due to the fact that the person that's been really hurting that company to begin with the past decade, Stephen Ballmer, is leaving the company, I think, later this year, early next year. So hopefully, once he's gone and the whole restructuring of that company is, is firm, hopefully they'll be in a better position next year and the year following, hopefully. I may not like the Xbox One, but you know what? I'm hoping that that company is in a more sane position next year and the years following for that console at least.
Mm-hmm.
But what were you going to say, my friend?
I was going to say, so speaking of, on this latter part of the episode, I was going to ask you guys some what do you think of the positives, if any, because I didn't want to say, I want to feel, kind of felt like, which we're not, but I was like, seems to be a little too yay Nintendo, boo everyone else. So I was like, let's see.
Not my end. Let's just point out one thing that I feel like from that perspective.
I was gonna say if we kept going that track without bringing up the other positive, people would be like, you guys are just Nintendo nut huggers. I'm like,
not really.
We're not.
I mean, you want an example of where we feel that they're actually that we feel that they needed to improve? Just take a look at their current, fiscal year results, from April to the end of October. Yeah, they only sold 300,000 Wii U's since within that 6-month time span, and we feel that, that they really need to, take precedence and try to improve the situation better.
Another positive thing, in regards to Sony, no involvement whatsoever of Ken Kugaragi being involved with the PlayStation 4's architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw Mark Cerny. Mark Cerny knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Even Mark Cerny.
And look, that's nothing against Kugaragi. I respect him for what he's done with the brand to begin with. He was the godfather and the creator of the PlayStation family brand to begin with. But let's be frank, he really botched up the PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not fully, but there was some... Yeah, exactly. There was stuff that really hurt it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And not to mention that... when it comes to people recording their footage, if they want to do gameplay videos and whatever, you can't actually record with the HDMI output capture or whatever. But anyway, back to positives.
Oh, yeah, and positives on me, just so people will say, I'm a Sony guy. I'll give a positive to the Wii U, which is it's been not selling so well, but I have a feeling that with all these games coming out, people are going to see that, oh crap, this is actually a new system. Because there's still the people who think it's an add-on for the Wii, and I'm just
that's sad but
when
true.
People
But
see Super Smash Brothers, and
sad but true, but I kind of facepalm people.
Yeah, I think people will finally realize, oh yeah, this is a good system. It's a different system.
Yeah, but at the same time, it goes into regards that that happens with every new console.
Yeah,
but a lot of people still do this with the Wii.
You know what I mean?
The Wii U, they're like, jeez.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes
think it's a Wii.
But also, what we're also trying to get at here is that, did Rich ever said that he want the PS4 and Xbox One to fail? No, of course not. But the thing is that new next generation consoles are coming, and information tends to fluctuate every now and then, and it's kind of hard to determine who is right and who is wrong.
And here's the thing, and Rich did bring up a good point in his response video to the DualShockers.com. They're bad enough due to the fact that they're just like IGN and these other credible source sites, that they don't have sources. They just like to do that for revenue in regards to their audiences.
Mm-hmm.
They like to blow everything out of proportion.
There are people like that. People say, oh, just because Rich didn't do it. It's like, yeah, but if you knew him from before, you know he's not like that.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
And as for positives, let's see, PS4's controller is awesome.
Oh,
Xbox,
Like, in regards to Xbox One, let me just say this. I'm not mad at the direction they're going with Xbox One. Actually, when you think about it, actually it makes sense for Microsoft's stance, because ever since the Xbox 360, that's the direction they've been going towards. The problem I have in regards to the OS, it's not like how Jay Allard and the others who were actual gamers understood what the OS was for, which was a dedicated gaming hardware.
Mm-hmm.
This is being developed by people who are known for various other things besides gaming and media. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's the thing I'm worried about the OS specifically, but not the console as a whole. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are you talking about I had it dug out. Are you talking about Xbox One?
Yeah, the Xbox One. Yeah.
You know, KI is looking better.
Yeah, there's some games for the Xbox One that actually kind of pique my interest, like KI, for instance.
And that's the same. It's funny you guys bring it up because me, I was really worried about KI mainly due to the fact that the developer,
Dude, you and me,
against them.
Remember, you and me were both like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, when we saw
yeah,
that.
It's nothing to do with that. Just the games that they developed in the past.
Exactly.
What we've seen from the updates of the game itself, it's looking great, but I don't like how they're,
portraying some of the characters.
And
like
mostly of the structuring of the how the game's going to be released and how it's going to be priced.
Yes.
Especially for a competitive game.
Yeah, but besides that, I'm glad that a developer like that is listening, that they're getting a lot of feedback from the fighting game community, and actually getting some of these big-time players from the said community to play test the game and get involved in what they think about it, too, you know what I mean? Best example, a YouTuber that myself and the others watch, Maximilian.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's a funny thing, too, it's just like, what I'm going off this is that, when this happens every generation, when the start of a new generation console cycle happens, we always hear, oh, the negatives, we already hear the negatives. It's just like, it's expected to happen, you know what I mean?
It's expected to happen that there's going to be problems from the get-go.
Exactly.
Nothing is perfect when it comes out. even the like we said, even the PS3, the 360, and the Wii, they were not perfect when they first started.
And that's
Exactly.
the thing.
Early
Gamers
adoption.
are expecting too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's
They're
another
not-
thing. Since when does any launch and I'm
No.
talking about not just consoles but technology in general.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, you do have a point. That's true, and it even
Yeah.
happens with computers too. I mean, look at the look at the
Surface.
launch. Well, best example. Look at the launch and the current decline of Windows 8.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up too.
I mean, it goes back to Vista as well too, and that happened a couple years prior to, and that was a complete botch. But thankfully, through time, at least that they improved it. Was it a
Yeah.
little bit too late? Maybe due to the fact of how much people badmouth it, but at the same time, at least it was a stabilized operating system to begin with.
Exactly.
I think this is the main problem in the industry. It's just, I think not only gamers, but also journalists of the ilk, like from IGN, GameSpot, I think we expect too much, even when these consoles aren't released.
I think it's just mostly just the general consumer. You know, they expect too much to happen. Like for Microsoft, they expect, you know, people expecting them to make sure that they have good online. For Nintendo, they expect them to actually make new games under their banner. But for Sony, it's kind of hard to figure out which is their biggest fault. So yeah, it's just you're not going to expect anybody to be perfect, guys. I mean, this type of stuff already always happens, and maybe in time they'll actually get around to doing some of the stuff that you want them to, like even for Nintendo, maybe they'll get to the unified account systems, and maybe for Microsoft, maybe they will, and for Sony with the PS4, maybe this. Down the future, this whole thing, with their online infrastructure being in complete stability, will actually come to fruition the first time people actually buy PS4 and Xbox One anytime next year. It'll probably be a thing in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, these expectations, guys, you gotta stop. Really.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like these fanboys. Like it doesn't matter if it's Sony, Microsoft, or even Nintendo. They think that everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. If someone says something negative about their company, they go. Pardon my French, but they'll go completely ape shit insane and saying, "No, you're wrong. Shut the f up. Get on the net." And it's like they come complete mindless drones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not to mention the sensationalists out there as well. They're also guilty in that same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's a lot of people within the Western world right now. They actually want some people to go. They feel that they're completely irrelevant, which is not true.
Like,
but yeah, it's just.
And by the way,
I mean,
we're at 27:50.
No, I know.
Yeah,
No,
so
just don't count.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but I think we need to go ahead and give our final thoughts on this.
Yeah. From my end, I am ticked off from Sony because I knew from the get-go, I remember all of us when we were doing the stream for the E3 presentation that, it was funny that they're taking stabs. Not only then, but also from Gamescom as well too. But going back, I wish they were honest from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
I would respect a company more if they were just flat out respected to me and told me the truth. They'd say, like, "Oh, we didn't do this to begin with." Because the more you lie to a consumer, the more likely you're going to lose said consumer because of that BS. However, going back to the topic at hand with what Rich from ReviewTechUSA brought up, do I believe fully and hoping fully that these are true? God forbid, no. But I know that some of these are going to be true because, like we brought up about the PS3 to PS4 version upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be some truth to these, sources of what he brought up in his video.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll give my final thoughts as well. I'm pretty much in agreement with you, Jeff, with pretty much all you talk about. I mean, I think this whole thing, but I also believe, and I said this before, that this whole thing where the video is getting a bunch of negative flack has kind of blown out of proportion big time. And it's like, with stuff like this, you have to think of the possibilities of what might actually happen because, with next generation consoles, anything could happen. And I mean, with this information that Rich brought about and considered that it could possibly happen, you have to be prepared for that kind of stuff. And not to mention, I mean, like I said, do I want both the PS4 and Xbox One to fail? No. I mean, I want to see a point where the Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, they have equal competition, where they're both really strong and they both bring out really good products in the end. But, you know, with certain fan bases being completely asinine over one another, I think that's not going to come. But anyway, definitely keep the information either, you know, fully on to you or take it with a grain of salt. Either way, it's a half and half situation. So, yeah, I guess we're going to have to see until November 15th and the 22nd, respectively, if both consoles will end up having those problems or not. But do I want them to happen? No. But is it possible that it could happen? Yeah, it could go either way. All right, so Jerry, go ahead and give your final thoughts, man.
All right. I want to add that like Kyle said, you brought up being prepared. That's my main thing to you guys out there. Know all the stuff that can happen, as you've just seen. Go watch Richard's video if you haven't, and decide for yourself. Like, basically, know the risks and be careful with your money. For God's sake, if you know the risks and you're okay with them, you know, go ahead, go for it. If you want to be an early adopter. If not, do what I did with the Wii U. Wait a while and go get one later when you know kinks are ironed out, or you know that the games are what you really want. You know. And again, it's happened because, like these guys know, I'm a Sony fan, so
yeah,
I already have like so much bought from them. I'm already knee deep in their ecosystem, so I'm like, I'm better nuts.
and I guess you could say on my end, I'm mostly the Nintendo guru, but I do respect Jerry for, you know, what he is.
Well, plus that, and I don't hate Nintendo because
Oh, of course, I don't hate Sony or Microsoft either, but.
So.
But, you know, there's lots of things that are happening. I mean, nobody's perfect. Exactly. But anyway, continue, man.
No, it's true. Exactly. Like, we are fans, not fanboys.
Exactly.
You said a lot. That why we get along. Like, we have our preferences, but we're not gonna go crap on each other for liking something. And again, you guys, whatever you like, you like. Just know that these companies are not your friends. They may go around and want to be more reputable because, you know, the best way to get people like to buy your stuff is to show that, you know, you make a good product and not be sleazy. So, but again, they're not being your friend because they want to be your friend. They're being your friend so you can go back to them. And buying their console doesn't make you a member of their company. Doesn't make Microsoft or Sony or anything like that.
And that's what, and I feel that's also what's making corporations fail. Like Sony and Microsoft, for instance, since they're so hyped up on money, I think they kind of lost what it means to grow with their customers and to build trust with them.
Yeah.
And that's all I gotta say. Like, this stuff might happen. I don't think it'll be a full. I think what I think is because you said half and half. I think that's exactly what I think is gonna happen. Something in the middle where bad stuff happens, but not end of the world bad stuff.
No, of course not.
And like I said, also again reiterate that, you know.
And do you think it possibly might lead? Do you think it possibly might lead to another scenario where, you know, with Sony with the PS3 till about 2009 when they finally picked up Steam? It could happen, but could it happen much longer? No, of course not. It won't be at a point where, you know, the console is doomed. I mean, same thing with Wii U. I mean, sure, the problems they have right now, is it going to be doomed in the end? No, of course not.
I know, yeah, and there's those people who say it is, and I'm just laughing at them like, no.
It's
Smash
pathetic,
Brothers
to be
is
honest.
coming out.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big seller.
Mario Kart 8,
Smash Brothers.
Bayonetta 2.
With Mega Man. I mean,
see, that's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of Bayonetta or the IP to begin with, but I can tell you, a game that was a spiritual successor somewhat to Devil May Cry on a console like Wii U exclusive, even that is gonna sell units, not be a hot button, you know, IP that people desperately need. But I know it's gonna sell units of the console at least.
But like I was saying, I just want to reiterate,
and even
do your research and
exactly
don't go around being a nut hugger. You can like something,
and even Monolith Soft's X or Xeno game or the new Xeno game. That's
whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, but, that's definitely a huge thing. But for Sony and Microsoft, they have more down the pipeline as well. But it's just a matter of.
So
it's just a matter if they can capitalize on their mistakes to actually, make it better, do it a lot better than what they did in the previous generation. But anyway, that's all on my end.
Yeah, I already said what I was gonna say, so I
Okay.
guess we can sign off now. It's already at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, we're at
Go
that
ahead,
time.
Kyle. Sign us out, Kyle.
Okay, well, gamers, I hope you really enjoyed our talk that we had for the Riff Table Arcade. It was actually a pretty interesting one at that, and definitely one of the more talk-worthy topics to talk about. Probably since like the first one, with Capcom.
Yeah.
I definitely think this was another one of the better ones. But be sure to keep on the lookout for another Rift Table Arcade coming next time, and we'll definitely have a lot more other topics to talk about that come in within that particular week or within the week. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We try to do this every Wednesday, and also be sure to catch up on us with our own individual YouTube channels outside of YouTube, where Jeff has 16-bit Jeff has one of his channels, and FighterXaos has his own channel, FighterXaos. But yeah, keep it locked here for Game Riffers content that you won't find anywhere else, and we'll definitely be bringing that back in at some point coming up. And not to mention, be sure to keep glued to me with Double RPG Reviews for reviews, news stories, 2 cents videos, and that. And be sure to check out Double RPG Game Riffers Solo for my Let's Plays and all that. So anyway, guys, to sign off, I am Double RPG.
I'm 16-bit Jeff.
On FighterXaos.
And we will definitely catch you next time for another exciting episode of Rift Table Arcade. Godspeed and game on, gamers!